to our beginning calligraphy puzzle is the type of ink. Now, there are a variety of different types of ink. There are specialty inks, there are metallic inks, there are, white inks that you can make ink out of gouache or watercolor. But the three that I really want to discuss today are the three that I use the most within my job for specialty projects, for practice, etc. So, number one, we have an iron gall ink. Iron gall ink has been around for centuries, and it's a specific formula taken from iron sulfate and the acid from oak galls. Now, what's really interesting about iron gall ink is that when it's applied, so when you dip in your pen and apply it to paper, it goes on kind of light, but as it oxidizes or gets exposed to the air, it will gradually become darker with time. Now, this iron gall ink is a specific formula that was created actually by Jane Austen, and the company is called Fox and Quills. They can be found on Etsy. Iron gall ink is not typically found in any kind of general stores, so you will have to probably go to a specialty ink store to purchase iron gall ink, and so it can be a little bit more expensive. What I really like about it and why I recommend it for beginners is because it's very easy to use and to apply, and you can already see it's already starting to get darker, so there's something very magical about it, I find. Now, the one thing I will say about iron gall ink, the one downside, is that because it does contain a number of different types of acids, obviously, if you get it on your fingers, as I already have, it won't hurt you, but it will hurt your metal nibs. They will begin to corrode a little bit more easily. Over time, obviously, not right away. But it's always important, especially when working with iron gall ink, to consistently clean it. And wiping it clean, wiping it dry, will help to stave off the corrosion a little bit faster. The second type of ink that I want to talk about is walnut ink. Now, walnut ink, this type in particular, is taken from walnut shells. Again, this type of ink process has been around for a long time. What's really nice about walnut ink is that it goes on in this kind of brown coffee color. And eventually, just like our iron gall ink, it will get a little bit darker, but not much darker. So this ink is actually great for practicing. This particular walnut ink I purchased from the specialty store Paper and Ink Arts. So this large 4-ounce container from Paper and Ink Arts currently sells for about $9. And what's really fantastic is that even with just one preparation, I probably have enough ink for months. So this jar will last years. I'm going to estimate years, and I do use it quite frequently, so that's saying quite a lot. You can purchase walnut ink already pre-mixed, but the mixing process when you do purchase crystals is very, very simple. It's just water and a little bit of the crystals. Now, the one downside to walnut ink that some people could, you could arguably say, is that because it does have this very brown light color, some people don't really like that. So I don't typically use walnut ink for a specialty project unless it's specifically required. So like if you wanted to do something that looked old and authentic, like old papers or an old treasure map or something like that, this might be kind of a fun choice. But again, this is just the actual application of it is so user-friendly, which is why I recommend it to beginners. Our third ink, which I feel like requires no introduction, is Sumi Ink. Now, Sumi Ink comes in a couple different varieties. This one specifically is Sumi Moon Palace ink. Sumi ink comes actually from soot. So what I kind of really love about it is that it has this very earthy scent to it. What is also great is just how dark and black your letters look. Like, look how much that's popping off the page right here. The one thing I will say about Sumi ink, I love it to death, but it can be very thick. So if you're not used to using it, play around with how much water you might need to mix into your ink. Now, a good way to mix Sumi ink is what you're gonna do is you can take either like a pipette, fill it with a little bit of water, and put it directly into your ink jar. And just kind of swirl your ink around, give it a little swirl just to get it going. If not, you can always dip it straight into the jar and then dip it into your water. And that will begin the process and getting it flowing. Now, the Sumi ink that I have mixed here, I've already diluted it a bit with water. Sumi ink is probably, I don't know, maybe like industry standard. I don't know. There's so much of calligraphy is individualized. So I don't want to say it's the be all end all, but it's definitely used most heavily with the calligraphy community. So it's always a good idea just to experiment and try it out. I really love the result. So I hope you had fun exploring these inks with me. And next up, we're going to be talking about paper. We'll see you then.